I wanted to talk to you today about continuing a conversation about change. So, last week I talked a lot about change from a lot more of a logical perspective, and I'll get into the differences as we get into this video. But I think there's two sides to everything, and we live in a very dualistic planet right now. Black and white, short, tall, all the things, right, that are kind of opposite. And we even have that in our personality traits, which I find so interesting. But I'm sharing this perspective because I think you should understand it, and I think it'll bring you great personal growth if you do. Let me just back that up now a little bit. But even, like I said, even in our personality traits, we have a dualistic nature. I don't know how much you know about Myers-Briggs personality typing, but if you want to learn more from a spiritual perspective, I wrote a book on it. Unpack Your Personality, Let Your Inner Guide Be Your Travel Guide. It's relatively inexpensive. It's on Amazon. It's wherever books are sold. And I go into the traditional aspects of typing and the spiritual aspects. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to elevate Myers-Briggs into a more spiritual focused theory, okay? But there's a ton of stuff on Myers-Briggs online, so just Google Myers-Briggs. I will warn you, if you take a test online, a lot of the times the test results aren't accurate. It's for a lot of reasons. It's because, we're taking a test on who we want to be instead of who we really are. And sometimes I know I took the test, and when I was going through my certification process, when I was in school going through this, I took the test and I went up to the professor and I said, what's up with this? And he's like, well, that is so not you. He goes, just ignore that. Because I was crazy. I was in a very stressful situation. I was meeting deadlines. I was taking this class, and I had to take this test and do this homework. And I was in not in a good framework to take the test. So take the test when you really want to take it, when you're relaxed and you're calm and you have time to take it. Another tip is do the answer that first comes up, whatever it says. Just do, and I know it's hard because it's a forced test, which I don't like either. I'm trying to figure out a way to create a test that's more, it would be more correct with outcomes. I haven't figured that out yet, so whatever. But into the Myers-Briggs thing and back into the Myers-Briggs, and one of the things, if you don't know, Myers-Briggs uses the philosophy of we operate from 4 essential traits. Really, it's 6. Actually, really, it's 8, but I won't go there either. I know all the details I have to get into. I get so excited talking about this stuff, but these traits that they say we operate from are in what they call a functional stack. And I'm going to make this real easy. All your functional stack is the order in which you use your traits. That's it. Don't have to get complicated. I'm trying to make this stuff as easy and practical so you can put it to use immediately. That's what the goal is, right? And so within your functional stack, we have what is known in the industry as a dominant trait, what you use the most, to your inferior trait, what you use the least. And these two are opposing. They're dualistic in nature. So that's what I'm getting around to explaining why I'm talking about dualism. It's in everything. So once you start getting into spirituality, you'll see that God isn't random. Like, he weaves a lot, or she weaves a lot of the same concepts into everything. And dualism is one of those things. So what I wanted you to understand this is dualism from the perspective of a word. Because I love words, and I think words have so much more meaning than just the logical way we look at a word, right? And I should have brought a dictionary out here to define change, but you guys can do that. So what I wanted to talk to you today about change, looking at change from a more spiritual perspective. And I'm not saying you have to be all woo-woo and, go and sit in a mountain for, 30 years. No, we need practical stuff that we can start applying to our lives today. the world is changing so quickly. We don't have time to sit there and go, I'm going to just contemplate this. No, because by the time you contemplate and come up with that, your whole world's changed, right? I know that's how I feel. I don't know if you feel if the world is speeding up. Let me know. Drop a comment if you feel that the world is speeding up, because I really think it is. But so I wanted to show you this change from a reflective inner guide change. Like when I talk to you about your inner guide, that to me is your divine spark within, and we all have that. Because I believe we all come here, we are a creation of our Creator. We are that. So I don't really buy into that we're perfectly imperfect. I don't buy into that. We're perfect. We just get here and kind of mess ourselves up because we're looking at a logical aspect a lot of the times to help figure ourselves out. And that's not where the true answers come from. Superficial answers come from that. Quick fix answers come from that. And that is one, and I'm going to start there. Before I do, let me introduce myself. For those who don't know very much about me, my name is Nia Zapala. I talk about spiritual personality typing. I believe it's a roadmap to your true self. It's a roadmap. It's a self-discovery path. Because my whole reason for being right now, my true calling, has come from my own life tsunami, where change, you talk about change, it was an avalanche of change. It was a tsunami of challenges and change. That's why I call it a tsunami. Everything in my life changed within a matter of 3 years. My life no longer looked the same. So I know a thing or two about change. And this is why I don't want you to come to the point where, like I did, where I was just, my soul was like, I'm done with you. And it was like, there was a gentle push, a gentle push, a gentle push. And then it was like, I was at the edge of the cliff. I was either jumping or turning around and staying stuck in my old life. And I chose to change and take the risk, jump into the unknown, and step off the cliff. And boy, did I step. But this is the change I want to talk to you about, okay? And learn all about me at ninazapala.com. And I do offer clarity sessions from both a Myers-Briggs and spiritual. It's always going to be spiritual for me. So if you want to learn more about your spiritual personality type, I'd love to walk you down that path. I'd like to start you on your journey. And please know, I am not your guru. You know what is inside of you. I cannot. But what I can do is open perspective so you start seeing that a little bit more clearly, right? So I'm talking about I had to step off the cliff of change. So for me, I was pushed. I was like pushed. Because I was looking at the logical world, like the logical, and I say logical, but the external world, where I'm just thinking, oh my God, I know my life's not working. What do I do? What do I do? So I was thinking I had the capability to change that. And so I was making changes, right? And what was happening is I was separating myself further and further and further away from my true self. From that beautiful creation I am. The I am of me, that beautiful creation of I am, right? My true self. And I was separate away and away. So you know, if you're trying to do things in your life and you keep on getting more anxiety or roadblocks, or there's a lot of unsuccess and you're just meeting the wrong people, you know that your soul is telling you, you need to come inside. You need to come inside. You need to change and look within and get your advice and next steps and understanding from the Creator, the divine intelligence, that spark within, who knows exactly why you're here, who knows exactly what you're meant to be doing here, who can guide you on this path. So here's the thing about when you change from this perspective. So I was forced to change because the logical world wasn't working for me anymore. And I'm going to give you examples of this. So logically, let's just say you're in an abusive relationship. And logically, I mean, we can all agree on this, that if you've come to the realization that you're in an abusive relationship, you know you need to change, right? But there's a flip side to that change. That change can also be, if you look at the other side of that, the other side of the coin of change, you can say like, oh, I need to change because I just want to get out of this relationship and continue my life, or I need to change because I want to better myself. I want to be on the path of figuring myself out. I want to be on the path of self-discovery, of betterment, of becoming closer and more aligned with that divine spark in me, the meaningful person that I came here to be, my true calling, my light, being the lighthouse, and serving from that perspective instead of just sitting there and saying, I need to change because I need to get out of this relationship. It's not good for me. I'm not going anywhere. No. You turn that around and you go in and embrace the divine intelligence within you. So the change becomes bigger than the I. I know that's a little confusing. Does that make sense? What I'm trying to tell you is it's just not about you. When you start changing and wanting to know who you really are and how to best show up in this world by being your best self, right? Loving yourself and having the true meaning and purpose that really does fulfill you. That's the change I'm talking about. So when you start doing that, when you start thinking of change from that perspective, you'll come to realize too that, oh, when I change, and if you're on a spiritual path, you probably already know this, so I might be being redundant, but it bears repeating. When you change from that perspective, you not only change what needs to be changed within yourself, you also start to realize that, wow, when I change, that helps everyone around me and everyone that I encounter. And my light grows brighter, right? I become a beacon of light instead of a dimmer switch. A dimmer switch is when you're like, you don't really know yourself. You're still a light because you're a creation. You've been created from divine intelligence, God, the great I. I don't care what label you put on it. It's the intelligence it's the life force that holds worlds together, that holds the cosmos. It's that frequency energy that is pure goodness. So you'll have that, but sometimes we don't know ourselves. We just have our dimmer switch on. If you want to walk in the path of knowing your true self, you're going to put the lighthouse switch on. You want to illuminate the world around you. And it can be in very small ways, And that's why I think it's important at this time. I want to teach you this because the world, the external world says, oh, you need to have 1 million followers on Instagram. You need to be, a multi-billionaire. You need to have you need to have a room full of, 4,000 people that you're speaking to. I don't believe that's true at all. I've said this and I'm going to say it again. And I don't care how many people start following me. I don't care. I don't care about that. What I care about is helping you get on the path of knowing yourself, but also recognizing that you have this beautiful, divine spark within you that only you have. You are the only person, not only on the planet, but in the cosmos, that has your soul blueprint. God envisioned you, or the divine intelligence envisioned you for a very specific purpose, to be part of the tapestry of the universe. That is really exciting. So you're a thread in the tapestry. I'm a thread in the tapestry. Your spouse, whoever, sisters, your dog, whoever, we're all threads in the tapestry of life. And we create this beautiful world through that, by acknowledging that, by recognizing that. And I'm telling you, that's kind of a different concept than what we're taught. You know, I was very blessed because at a young age, I've been into spirituality since I was like 10. And unfortunately, it got shut off because I allowed myself to step into a world that didn't acknowledge that. You know, my mother used to speak with her deceased relatives, her relatives that had transitioned. She'd, oh yeah, Uncle Wally and Aunt Stell. Yeah, I mean, and I'm as a girl, as a little, you know, I'm like 10, 11. I'm like, Mom, I don't understand. How are you talking to Aunt Stell when she's been deceased for 3 years now? She moved on. She's in heaven, right? And my mom dog patted me on the head and said, oh, honey, just because you can't see something doesn't make it real. And that one sentence changed my life. I didn't know it then, but it changed my life. And I think that one sentence gave me the courage to step off the cliff and embark on a tsunami. What I've known, when I've stepped off the cliff, I would have known what I had to go through. I can't say, but I'm not there now, right? I that's behind me now. But so when you see change from the perspective of, and I want you to start seeing this, and maybe seeing this change, maybe shifting your perspective and seeing all change as a very positive personal growth path, instead of, oh, it's going to be challenging, I'm okay with what is, I'll just deal with it, you know, no one has a perfect life, you know. That's true. I'm going to agree with that statement because I've heard people say that. But what I don't hear is like, where do you have a meaningful life? And a purpose-driven life, and a life where there's love and opportunities and possibilities, where there's serendipitous moments just flow through you at all times, and you're just open to all these moments. These are moments of change. Do you welcome them and you say, oh, I don't want it? No, just back away. Okay. And you can do that. You can certainly do that. And I'm not judging you for that, because I did it and did it for decades. Look, my hair's gray. So I know what that's like. I ignored myself. I lied to myself, which was when I was going through the change, you know, of all the things that I struggled through, financial hardship, divorce, job loss, there was a lot. The thing that upset me the most, this is me, was I lied to myself. Yeah, and that just crushed me. It crushed me. That I would lie to myself? I would deceive myself? Whoa. That was a really hard one for me to overcome. But now, I accept it as part of who I was, to learn about myself. So now, instead of believing in this false self, I'm on a path to explore my true self, to keep on growing into that truth every single day. So the word change, I'd like for, if you can, start seeing it from the perspective of, yes, it's gonna maybe hard, maybe not like my life tsunami, 7 years of just excruciating change and challenge and hardships and just a lot of stuff. Through a lot of stuff. But yeah, it's not going to be easy because it's change. But we're not here. You know, you don't get things in life. When things are really easy in your life, you're stagnant. So change is going to be hard. And not hard from a, I don't know if that's the right, see, I'm really crazy with my words, but not hard from that standpoint, but it's not going to be easy. You're going to face some hardships. But on the other side of that are new opportunities, new possibilities. Yes, even reinvention. You're stepping into a new person because you're leaving behind your old stuff that no longer, those beliefs and values and habits that no longer serve you. And you can't go if you're stopped. You know, again, there's that dualism, right? You can't move forward if you're stopped. So we have a dualistic nature within us. And I'm going to get back to this traits because I think it's interesting. And I'll explain my traits. I'm an ENTP. Very unconventional. Eccentric. Childlike. I love new opportunities. I love to think. I love to look at the patterns, the possibilities, the opportunities, and see new ways to do things. So obviously spiritual personality typing is one of those projects I decided to take on, and now I've just fallen in love with it. But so, and where a lot of that comes from is what I told you, what the industry gurus call your dominant trait. So I don't like the word dominant because to me, it's almost like a negative. It is a negative. When somebody's dominant over you, that's not good. It's controlling. And so I like to call it your primary, or, which is even better from a spiritual perspective, your North Star, because it really guides you on your path. And just a little side note, your soul uses all of those traits to express itself in the physical world. So if all your traits aren't healthy, and you're not using all those traits from the extraordinary aspects of them, the most balanced, in line, exceptional spectrum of the traits, your soul's still on that dimmer switch. It's trying, but you have to get aligned with that so your soul can speak to those traits from because your soul is at a higher aspect. So if your traits are in fear, they don't come together. Your soul's at a higher frequency, right? So it's not gonna. It doesn't know fear. So if your traits are in fear, it can't express through them. But that dominant trait, or the primary trait, or like to call it again, the North Star, is what leads you. So for me, that's extroverted intuition. And that's where I love novelty. I like possibilities and opportunities and seeing new things. And seeing the world as this big playground of like, what's next? Where are we going? Oh my gosh, this is so cool, right? So it's just, for me, it's an exciting, adventurous, I love to travel. I haven't been traveling there that much. I'm concerned about the environment. That's a whole nother story. But it's just all this ways to go out and explore the world, right? And if we go down that functional stack, and remember the functional stack is just in what order you use your traits. My inferior trait, as traditionalists call it, is, and what they say is the most unconscious trait, right? So I want to talk about two things to that. So I, from a spiritual perspective, call it an opposing trait, and I don't believe it needs to remain unconscious. I believe if divine intelligence gave you these traits, you need to know them all. You need to get intimate with them all. And I don't care what anybody else is saying. And I'm not a psychologist. I don't have a degree, but I do have 7 years experience, and I studied under Dr. June Lee Nix, who we worked on this together, and she was so gracious with her time. She helped me figure this stuff out. And then of course I read, Carl Jung and all there is on Myers-Briggs, just a lot of Socrates. I read a lot of stuff because that's just innate to who I am. I want to learn and explore, right? And so that opposing trait for me would be introverted sensing. Totally diabolically opposed to extroverted intuition, only from the standpoint of that trait it loves the past, it loves history, and there's nothing wrong with this trait. It likes to bring what it learned into your future to make decisions, where that's totally the opposite. That's what I call it opposing of what my North Star wants me to do. So when this trait gets out of alignment and starts saying, nope, and starts saying, no, because extrovert intuition, for the most part, and I'm glad it's not going to be that, and as the transition of our world is upon, it was very comfortable being in a patriarchal society. A lot of convention, institutions, traditions, where extroverted intuition was like, what? Can't we do something different? So my life hasn't been easy because of that. But see, if I was relying on that, and that's when I get stuck, and that's when I have to look at that and see where I want to change that. Like, how do I want to change that? I want to embrace that because it's part of me, and I want to use that in ways that's beneficial. So like history, look back at my history, what was working and what wasn't working. Then take it over and reflect upon that and said, okay, divine intelligence, I've already kind of come from that perspective. I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. What can I bring forward to evolve this situation? And how can I use it for not to make the same mistake, but to evolve further, but still use what I know, but in a way that's more enlightened, right? It's coming from a totally different perspective. Does that make sense? So when we talk about change, I want you to see it from the perspective of change is for personal growth. It's there to improve your life. It's there to make your life more meaningful. And it's there to help you know yourself. So you have to know your traits. You have to know your trait. You have to know your personality traits. Because once you start studying them, you bring it inward to that powerful spirit within you. And you ask it. It's your better half, for sure. It's your power center, for sure. It's your wise inner guide, for sure. It knows where you need to go. So why aren't you asking that? Because we've been taught to ask the external world. And as we all know, that doesn't really work. I know I learned that. And maybe you're on a journey right now where you're learning that. Or maybe you're coming to a crossroads where you need to learn it. So I just really wanted to share this with you about change and how to look at it from a more spiritual perspective instead of just getting so focused on external changes. Well, what does that look like externally? And you have to look at that. I'm not saying don't look at that, because that would be, I wouldn't be smart either. But I'm telling you to go inside and kind of look at that from, this is an opportunity for personal growth. This is an opportunity to get to know myself better, to figure myself out, to walk in my truth. Then, when you get into that and you ask for direction based on that, the external actions are going to be different from just looking at it from the external and saying, where do I need to do from the external? Because you're just reaching out and trying to pull in instead of coming from within, then applying outwardly. It's a flip in how you think and how you do things. So I thought that was really important to help you understand change from a different perspective, so you can really get this, because we're going to be going through a lot of changes, and I wanted you to understand it so you can apply it from a very practical standpoint and begin to use it immediately. You know, I mean, going within and being reflective and taking time to understand yourself from within takes silence. I like to do a lot of meditative walking. I do yoga, and I don't get out of bed until I do a breathworks with a chant. I use breathworks and a chant together. So there's a lot of practices, and I'll put the link in the description box below. But my blog also has a journal prompt for you in there, which I think would be very helpful. And I will put that Reinvention podcast link in there as well, because I feel that I get into some of the nitty gritty of me going through my tsunami and what I was really going through. If you want to hear the horrors of that, it's not pretty, but you know, change isn't pretty. You know, we live in a world that's like, hey, everything's, you know, rainbows and unicorns. It's not the world we live in, obviously, right? But I hope you enjoyed this. Again, my name is Nita Zapala. I talk about spiritual personality typing. It's a new personality paradigm. The focus is more on the spiritual aspect, the soul's role in personality typing. Because I think it's much more relevant to where we are in society today than the personality paradigm of the 1940s. It just, you know, it's just more relevant, let's face it. And so I want to share that. I want you to know, like, where I'm coming from, because, like, what's she talking about? And this is what I'm talking about. And this is exactly what happened to me when I went through my life tsunami. I got my true calling, and through it all, I journaled, and then I wrote a book about it. And that's what I was called to do, because I kept on going through my tsunami, and I kept on praying, and I was like, God, what am I supposed to do? Like, I was so worn out. Like, I was just exhausted. And I heard, write the book. I'm like, now? Write the book. Didn't make any sense. Write the book. So I started writing the book. I had no idea what I was doing. I still don't know what I'm doing, you know? But that's part of it. It's part of our journey, because we're always on that self-discovery path. We're always getting closer to our truth, you know? And that's when you find more meaning and more purpose. And those really beautiful people come into your life and support you. And those serendipitous moments come. And they bring you exactly what you need. Because you know what? You're letting that divine inner spark, that divine intelligence guide your life. It knows your truth. That's why I say, I want you to become your true self. That's up to you. That's what I'm doing, and that's what I'm teaching. That's what I'm here for, to guide you into that. Only you could do the work, which is both challenging and rewarding. So I'll end it there, and I'll see you next week. Make it a great week, and comment, share, like, subscribe. Let me know what kind of changes you're going through. We're all going through changes. So even if you're going through a change, drop a heart if you don't want to, you know, sit there and blast your changes to the world. I totally get it. You know, or if you have a comment, if you have a question, please drop them in the comments. I'm here. I'm here for you. And like I said, if I can help just like one person, because this is such the cool thing, and I'll end with this. Suppose I help you change something in your life, or you get a different perspective, and you're like, I really need to change that. And then it catapults you into this whole new dimension of yourself. And then you go on to change like this part of the world that needs changing. Who knows? But I'm like, this is so cool because it goes back to the tapestry. I'm still part of your journey, right? Because I got to be part of the thread that you were weaving. You got to think about that. Everybody in your life's part of that thread that you're weaving in life. So I get to be a part of that. You know how exciting that is for me? That's super exciting. So if I can help one person, I want to do that. So share, subscribe, like. Yeah, we'll play with the algorithms since we've got to do that right now, which is kind of soul sucking, but it is what it is, right? Anyhow, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate every single one of you. If you're going through change, I'm with you. Been there, done that. I am on a change journey myself right now. I'm trying to figure out some stuff in my life. See, because it doesn't ever end. You're always on the journey, but it gets easier. I promise you. It's still challenging, but you recognize the things quicker and you're not in it so much. You don't drag yourself down so far down the rabbit hole, right? You get to the hole and you're like, do I want to step into that? No, back out. Let's do the work right now. Just do the work. Just face it head on, make the commitment and go. So trust me, it does work like that. It does for me, and it'll work differently for you, but the premise is going to be similar. Have a great rest of the week, and I'll see you next week. All for now, Nina.